We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
Well, then so much for Liberation Day. Yesterday, Trump gave his huge press conference, which you probably already are aware of, where he announced his immense reciprocal tariffs. A bloodbath in the markets followed, and we're going to take a look in what exactly that means for international car manufacturers like VW and BYD. I'll also give you a quick summary on what exactly happened, why Trump is also putting tariffs on penguins, and much more, so stay tuned. So yesterday was the big day, Liberation Day for the American people. That's at least what Trump promised. What he delivered was, I don't know, we will see in the long run, I guess. But for now, it was a bloodbath in the markets. But in case you missed it, I'll just quickly walk you through what he announced and what happened there. So, of course, the biggest thing he announced in his press conference is these huge tablets. And I don't know about you or if it's just me, but with seeing this picture, I get huge flashbacks to this guy. Liberating his people, I guess. I don't know. I like the original better. What do you think? But let's then cut to the meat of it. What Trump announced there were huge so-called reciprocal tariffs. In my mind, that is just semantics for justifying immense tariffs on a bunch of countries. And the key to really understanding what went on here is the following. So as you can see here, this huge list. And in this list, everywhere, you can see a left bar where there is apparently tariffs charged by other countries to the United States, much higher than every tariff in all those columns, every single tariff that the United States in return placed against those countries. But the key then to really understanding what really is going on in those columns and charts is only revealed when you zoom in, because in those pictures, for example, here, I cannot even read what's displayed down here. And for this, we really have to zoom in. And there we can see that these are tariffs charged to the United States. Yes, got it so far, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So that's just fancy words of saying I got no idea how he came up with 67% tariffs for Vietnam, 90% tariffs. No idea. So there is some real tariffs by Vietnam, for example, involved, but then there's also some calculation which we have no idea about how that calculation came about, with manipulation of currency, with trade barriers. So if there's some expensive regulations, I guess, that also adds up to those 90% of tariffs total. So it's the complete opposite of transparency. Nobody has any idea how they came up with these numbers. But for now, that's not the big issue. The big issue is that now we have to face those tariffs. They now will be in place starting from Saturday. And what you need to know about those tariffs is that on the very low end, every single country has on the very low end at least 10% of tariffs, and some heavy violators, if you want to call them like that, will of course get bigger tariffs. So for example, the European Union will face 20% of total tariffs, and China will face 34% of tariffs. And before I'm gonna jump in what exactly that means for car manufacturers in both the European Union and China, I will redeem my promise that I just gave you regarding those penguins. So in those lists here of tariffs, of course you see that there's many different countries explained, but my personal favorite is this one here. Trump also placed a 10% tariff of an overseas area. I believe it's part of New Zealand, namely the Hard Islands and the McDonald's Island. These islands are completely uninhabited by humans. They're only home to penguins and some seals. So I don't know what those poor creatures did to justify those immense reciprocal tariffs by Trump placing on them. No idea. But that was just to bring a lighter note in there and to redeem my promise. Now let's cut to the meat of it. Today I brought to you two charts. First of all, BYD, huge car manufacturer out of China. And secondly, VW, of course, famous huge car manufacturer out of Germany, European Union. And so starting then with the short-term outlook for BYD, you can see that overall BYD has established his wave 1 top all the way back in June of 2022. And ever since, we've been in a prolonged and rather complex corrective counter move. Here in A, B, C correction yet to unfold. So we have so far completed the wave A downward. We have seen the counter correction in the B move comprised out of an WXY correction. And we are currently at the or very close to the pivot point of this wave B. So as of now, we still see a little bit of headroom left for that B wave to fully unfold. So we could still see a little slightly higher uptick, but only by a real small margin. So over here in this area, we should really see a huge pivot point for the market, and this pivot point could actually already be in here. It is a possibility, but in our primary scenario, we still expect just a little leg higher here to finish off this wave 5 of the underlying wave C, of the underlying wave Y, of the underlying wave Y to complete that before said B wave. And then from this point onward, we see overall a correction by approximately at least 70% down. And that, of course, if we're gonna see the correction to unfold like this of course will be huge overreaching buying opportunities. That's why you see here this box, and this box here is not a regular target zone like these ones here. These ones here are regular target zones. Those target zones you can use to get into the market either on the long side or on the short side. So either betting on rising prices, investing into the stock, or betting on falling prices, short selling the stock. However, these boxes are not target zones. Those boxes are trading areas, meaning those trading areas are huge, overreaching zones that will only be reached like every couple of years, maybe even decades. So real long-term opportunities to get into the market, get long-term into a stock and buy and hold. So if our main scenario then holds, this really will be the opportunity of a lifetime to get into BYD. And taking you to the overreaching broader picture here on the 1 week chart. So every single candle here is exactly 1 week. You remember the wave 1 that I told you before and the now developing wave 2. And within that developing wave 2 that would lead into this same trading area with the same box coordinates. Obviously, we are now in this before mentioned B wave, which we expect to finish like every other week. And as soon as that is through and we start unfolding with our C wave here, taking us all the way down to the wave 2 bottom, we would then expect the pivot point again to the upside, unfolding in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure upwards move. Of course, that's always the way it is in Elliott wave theory, taking us all the way to new highs in BYD and of course bringing immense gains with it, obviously. How about VW though? VW, once the biggest car manufacturer, as of 2 years ago, still by total volume, the biggest car manufacturer, not by total units sold, but by revenue, the biggest car manufacturer in the world, somewhat similar to BYD in a real bad place. And those tariffs, of course, will not help at all. If they're anything, then they're the final nail in the coffin for VW. Because if I might just jump quickly over to the overreaching time frame here, also to the 1 day chart here, VW really is in a terrible position right now. We have established a top in VW in March of 2021, and ever since we have so far seen a 63% correction. So for a company that big, for a big established company, by the way, we're not talking about a volatile, highly trending company. We're talking about a huge established car manufacturer, the biggest or by now second biggest car manufacturer in the world. That is wild, and we don't see that correction as over yet. Currently, we see VW in this huge overreaching wave A, B, C movement, and only then with this wave C movement coming to an end here, we would only then see in this target zone between 29.66 and 56.16 on the upside, we would see a long-term pivot point for VW to establish a major low in the markets and to hopefully propel the course to higher highs from there onward. But that is still quite a way to go. So from current levels up until the upper limit of our target zone, that would still be another almost 40% down. So VW is everything but out of the woods. And with all transparency, that is not our one singular scenario. You also have an alternative scenario. And that alternative scenario would be that this current wave B, that in our prime scenario we see as established as of March of 2025. This B wave in our alternative scenario could still reach a little bit higher, all the way to the area of 120. And only from there onward, we would then see the final wave C down to complete this huge overreaching wave 2 low. But that alternative scenario, we now only conclude at a probability of 37% total. And on the overreaching picture that I just peeked in with you before, it doesn't look much better. Here we also have a different alternative scenario, so don't be confused. Before I showed you this alternative scenario in the short run with this alternative wave B as being established here. That's not the same alternative scenario as here in the long run. In the overreaching time frame, we have a different alternative scenario. So this B wave here would remain untouched, but in this alternative scenario that is here marked at 33%, we have the alternative wave 2 already in here in this low of November 2024. So don't be confused by that. Looks a little bit similar at first sight, but it's a completely different scenario. That is an overreaching alternative scenario. So the one before was an intermediate alternative scenario, and that is a major overreaching alternative scenario. This one also concluded at not a very high, but still a considerable probability of 33%. And in this scenario, we would have already seen the wave 2 low in, and we would see blue skies ahead, but as said before, only at 33% probability. Our main scenario remains that VW still has to go lower into this target zone here between 29.66 and 56.16, and only then, only here in this area, would then finally print its major low of the wave 2. And when that time has come, I hope that you'll still be here watching me on this channel, because I'll be sharing with you updates all the way. And if it's not enough for you to just get random videos by my personal preference and liking every other day or so, you can go to the link in the description, because that link will take you directly to our website where you can choose from 200 markets, 200 assets, where you can get daily, yes, daily updates on your preferred markets and assets. You will get an update on every single move in the chart. You will get notifications, trading areas, entries into the market. So I would highly recommend you checking out that link, seeing what we got in stock for you. And if you're one of those that's only here for the free content, there's also links for you in the description, because there's links taking you to both X and Instagram, where we already post daily. Here on YouTube, we will scale up all the way to daily postings. So I would also highly recommend you subscribe to that channel, turn on the bell notification, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.